Was that the ESPN intro? Or that was NFL. That was Sunday Night Football.
What?
Ba-da-dum-bum-bum. Ba-da-dum-bum-bum.
I don't even know where you're going with that thing.
Well, that's what I heard.
What is going on, everyone? We are doing a spur of the moment podcast video.
Is it live?
So it is live. So welcome back to the weekly breakdown. My name is Josh.
And my name is Taylor.
And yeah, so we're coming at you guys live on a Saturday afternoon.
We sure are.
Which is
A little random.
not typical for us to normally do.
Yeah.
Ever. To be live at this point in time. But
It's been a few weeks.
it's been a while. It's been a while. The last time that we were in the parks, Devin, hello, it's good to see you. Thanks for joining in. It has been since Marathon Weekend. When we were, nobody can even hear me. I'm like talking. Everybody can only hear me from your microphone. So glad that I just caught that. Welcome back, everybody, to the podcast. I have to now redo the intro. It's the weekly breakdown, or maybe we'll change the name. I don't know. But yeah, so welcome back.
It's the WDW Couple Podcast, regardless.
Pretty much. It's been since, I think, Marathon Weekend, since we've actually been in the parks doing anything at all.
It's been 100% since Marathon Weekend.
Yeah.
So it's been a while.
Everybody says they can't hear me, but they should be able to hear me now. So, as everything is coming through.
Just give it a second. Because it's delayed.
Yeah, it is delayed. Yeah. So, it's echoed now. I can't ever really try to fix the echo. I don't know why the echo ever does that.
I don't know. I feel like you need to write down your settings.
I don't change anything. Hold on one second.
Well, something's changed, I think. Give us a second. We always have these technical difficulties at the beginning.
I turned my mic off just so everybody knows. All right. Good enough. So we're back. Hopefully the echo's not too terrible. Out of sorts. Usually I turn down Taylor's microphone a little bit because I feel like that's where it's back.
Because I always talk really loud for some reason.
Taylor always talks exceptionally loud. So we'll see. We're just going to play with it. But welcome back, everybody. Thanks for being here and hanging out with us on a Saturday, because I'm sure that you guys have way better things that you could be doing with your time on a Saturday than hanging out with us. And but yeah, we haven't been in the parks at all since Marathon Weekend.
Yeah.
And a couple people were asking excuse me, why there haven't been any videos or different things like that. And
why there haven't been any videos? We have posted videos. They just haven't been from the parks.
Right. I mean, we posted some of the cruise videos, which I apologize that basically what had happened was we had the one video,
of the videos.
The one video that I posted was the music was way too loud.
Really loud.
Yeah, in the intro. So
for 4 minutes. But unfortunately, I did not have a chance to watch it before it got posted.
Can you talk closer to your microphone?
Unfortunately, I didn't have a chance to watch it before Josh posted it because I worked 3 days in a row or something and then had 1 day off to pack and make sure everything was ready to go. And then we went to the port. And Josh was like, oh, yeah, by the way, I scheduled 2 videos to be posted while we're away.
Oh, and actually, Taylor asked me to schedule those.
Well, I did ask him to schedule them, but he's like, oh, by the way, I did schedule them. And I didn't know, yeah, see, that's what happens. He just told me, get closer to the microphone. And I get closer to the microphone, and now I'm talking really loud because I always get,
You're
excited about what I'm talking about, so I can't help it. Oh, and then Josh is kicking my camera over because he's not paying attention. So.
No, my foot kicked it by mistake.
Anyway, there's literally no service on the road that goes out to Port Canaveral. What is that road that we drive to get out there?
It's called 528. It's a toll road.
528. It's a toll road, and once you're past the airport area, there's no service at all. And it sucks. So I wasn't able to watch the YouTube videos. Not that we would have been able to do anything at that point anyway. Probably just wouldn't have posted it. But Yeah, the one video was really loud, but we'll make sure the rest are not like that with the music. Sorry, I'm just making sure my mom didn't text me again.
But yeah, so, but we haven't been in the parks because, if you don't know, cruising is extremely stressful. Not really. But
The cruising part is nice.
the cruising part was great.
The part to get on the cruise is stressful.
Yeah. So, being that marathon weekend had occurred and that I was there for all 4 days and Taylor was there for all 4 days, except I probably was mingling with more people than she was, especially when we talk about...
was in the middle of the corrals, in the middle of all the people, and I was out, I was out watching. So I was still, like, being around a lot of people, but not as close and as many people as Josh was.
And being in the corrals with so many people, it was a little stressful because in the back of my mind, I was just wondering if I was going to catch COVID. Because it's...
literally the day of the 5K when we got there, I sent Josh a text, which probably never went through till later in the day, and was like, yeah, I'm a little nervous being here with all these people. Like, what if we can't go on our cruise in a couple of weeks?
Right. I mean, it was...
Because we hadn't even announced officially yet that we were going on the fantasy, like what dates. Like, we said we were going to be going on a Disney cruise, I think, at some point, but I was freaking out, and I'm like, if we cannot go on this cruise, I'm going to lose it.
Yeah, and so we've been avoiding close contact with other people because of that fact.
Yeah, literally after Marathon Weekend, we checked out of Port Orleans Riverside. So if you haven't watched our Marathon Weekend videos on our YouTube channel, make sure you go check those out. I have lots of information about spectating, and then Josh did live streams of every single race, so you can literally just see how a race goes for a runner. But yeah, after we checked out of Port Orleans Riverside on Sunday during Marathon Weekend, we came straight home.
My special Run Disney.
You can talk about that later.
This is what I had all week on the cruise.
When we got home, it was like I went to work and Josh stayed here. We
went to the store.
He went to the store and he had a couple photo sessions during that, like it was like 2, almost 3 weeks until our cruise. Yeah. He did have some photo sessions during that time. So he literally would go to the grocery store and go to the photo sessions and come home. Like, we didn't go to the gym. We didn't go anywhere else. We didn't go to Disney in any other capacity because we were like, if we go and we get it, like, we're definitely not going on this cruise. So a week out from our cruise, I still had to go to work, but that's like, works fine. A week out from the cruise, I posted on Instagram, we're going on a Disney cruise, and a week from now, we're going to be boarding, blah, 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 and was, like, so excited to post this. And then, like, minutes after I posted it, I was like, maybe I shouldn't have posted that. What if I just jinxed us, and now we're not going to be able to go on this cruise?
And what's really funny, too, is that...
I was stressing out.
In addition to that, right, in addition to jinxing us, so to speak, as Taylor was saying, we've been, so one other trip that we haven't discussed yet or elaborated much on is that we've got a really big trip that we're planning.
Don't announce it.
In April. I'm not going to announce it, but
Josh likes to announce things and not discuss it before.
But we've been doing some, we've been doing a little bit of like shopping around for a few things, and we've been going to some stores to look at very specific products for this trip.
Did I just darken myself, or am I okay?
No, it was the screen, but I fixed it. So.
Okay.
But with that being said, we're walking around in the store, and I walked underneath a ladder, and Taylor's like, that is the worst luck that you could have given us by walking underneath the ladder.
Oh, yeah. I was being super superstitious.
I don't believe in that kind of stuff, so I think we'll be fine.
The last couple weeks, I did believe in all this stuff.
And it really was just one of those ladders that's like on the shelf, so it like slides around. So it wasn't even like
still a ladder. It's a ladder. It counts.
A-frame. But yeah, so with that being said, and talking a little bit why we haven't been in the parks, we thought it'd be a good opportunity to just kind of briefly bring up the whole boarding process to get on a cruise and how they're very different between cruise lines right now.
And kind of like what you experience on a cruise, regardless of which cruise line you're going on, some of the things that you will most definitely experience, whether it's part of the boarding process or while you're sailing.
Yeah. So, and it's it's been crazy, and so we thought we would talk a little bit about that today. But first, let me just add and do some shameless plugs. We've got photo and video needs. We actually got some sessions going on this week. Some things we got to catch up on this week as well. So you can head on over to jtrmedia.org or jtr.media for all of your photography and videography needs, whether that is senior portraits or weddings or some fun family videos back in the parks. I've got one this week. I'm super excited to be doing over in Hollywood Studios. It's going to be super cool. And also, if you're looking, speaking of trips, if you're looking to book your next vacation to Disney World or anywhere else around the world, whether you have big kids, small kids, or no kids at all, you can head on over to goldgalgetaways.com and start planning your vacation today. More than likely. Maybe 24 hours once you submit your form to, give us the opportunity to send you out to one of our awesome agents.
But you are initiating the process.
Exactly. So, so welcome everybody. And, I see everybody right now, especially up in the Northeast, buried in snow, super cold. Our family is in PA, if you guys don't know, and they have gotten, I think, 5 or 6 inches.
They said it was 4 to 6 inches and 7 degrees this morning.
Yeah. So, and for us here in Florida, which has been, I know I'm not being, we're cold here, but we've got a freeze warning tonight. It's supposed to be about 30 degrees, which is pretty significant, especially for Orlando. Usually the upper part of Florida, the Panhandle area, Jacksonville, they kind of see that stuff. We don't typically see a lot of that here in Orlando. Speaking of, they actually, we actually came back into port pretty early last night because of weather and things like that. So we thought we would talk a little bit about the process of doing a cruise, because I will tell you guys right now, if you are at all interested in doing a cruise, it is still one of the best times to do a cruise, assuming that you're vaccinated and you're cool with the protocols. Because the ships are almost empty, and I mean almost empty.
Let me give you a little example of what we mean by almost empty. So they're obviously limiting capacity. This cruise that we just went on, it was the Disney Fantasy. It was a 7-night. It was supposed to be an Eastern Caribbean cruise, but because of whatever ports and stuff, they changed it to a Western Caribbean. This ship holds approximately 4,000 people. What we had been told was there was approximately 1,100 people on board.
Yeah.
That's less than half.
Right.
Which is insane.
Almost. Yeah. Super crazy. Now, each cruise line is a little bit different. Disney to Royal, to Princess to Norwegian, Carnival, all those. They're all operating a little bit differently, so keep that in mind. But, if you're talking about looking to have a vacation that is ultimately relaxing, which there is no vacation more relaxing than a cruise vacation, in my opinion. It's a great time to do it.
Sandals is pretty relaxing,
True.
But there's just something about a cruise that's extra special.
But you don't have to fly out of the United States.
Right, you can sail right out of the United States, which is really nice.
Which is very nice. But so we haven't been into the parks because of that, right? So we've been trying to, especially for Disney, because of the protocols, we wanted to make sure that we were isolating ourselves so we didn't get COVID. But for Royal, right, I'm sure a lot of you guys have watched our Royal Caribbean cruise vlogs. If you haven't, I encourage you to go back and watch them. We had a really great time.
Yes.
We booked that cruise, I think, around Black Friday.
Yeah.
And for the 4-night, 5 days, is that what it was, Monday to Friday? So, right,
yes.
4-night, 5 days. We spent, to get on that ship, under $500. I think it was $425, $450 total.
For
two
people. And we initially booked a porthole room, and we did end up upgrading our room to a balcony. Honestly, I don't even know what it costs to upgrade.
I think I did the minimum bet, or the minimum thing,
because you bid to upgrade your room, and you're not guaranteed you're gonna get the upgrade.
And I think it was $100 total is what I put in, $50 per person. So and we got upgraded.
Yeah, that's pretty cheap,
which was nice
for a balcony room.
Absolutely. Which didn't come out to be that much more per day. So.
And we booked this all through Gold Gal Getaways. And let me just tell you, because I saw a few comments coming through about it, if you book through a travel agent, are you going to get the same thing you would get booking it yourself? Here's the thing. Yes, you will get the same thing, but we make sure that you have the absolute best price possible. If a lower price comes out for your cruise, we change everything so that you have that lower price. Or if a lower drink package comes out, we can make sure you get that lower drink package price. That's for Royal Caribbean or whatever other cruise lines, not Disney, obviously. But we make sure you have the best possible price. That way, you don't have to be sitting there checking all the time to make sure you're getting it. We are doing that for you. And then, you know, we're just making sure that you have everything set in line, ready to go. If there are any issues with your trip prior to sailing or during or whatever, we are there to sit on the phone on hold for hours on hours so that you don't have to sit on the phone for hours and hours.
It's true.
So that is one of the main things why you use a travel agent is we do all of the things that would be considered a hassle. We do that for it to take care of it for you. But this is at no extra cost to you. We are a free concierge service. So we make sure that everything is set and ready to go for you. But yes, we booked this cruise through Go Getaways and had literally the best time.
Yeah, it was great.
Both of our cruises were through Go Getaways.
But the whole boarding process is very different between the two cruise lines. So Royal Caribbean, and they may be changing this up soon.
We don't know. Don't speculate.
You just don't know. But
Josh always speculates.
Basically, for Royal Caribbean, what we had to do was we had to have a negative COVID test within 48 hours of sailing. So you could go and have that done somewhere else if you wanted to do it. What we did, which I thought was really easy, and we didn't really talk about this in the videos, was we ordered tests from Royal Caribbean, which were kind of like at a discounted price, so to speak. And then we just did that online with somebody. And you can do that 24 hours. You can do that at any point in time. So they're open 24 hours for you to do that. So if you work a late shift, you don't get home till 2 o'clock in the morning, you can still go through and do that process if you want to. The great thing about that is it's all linked back to your Royal Caribbean app and stuff, so it all just kind of synchronizes together, so it makes it really easy for you. And that's what we did, and we like that. And I think a lot of people would like that a lot more than Disney's process, which is being tested at the port. And I think a lot of you would probably agree with that, because if you're living up in the Northeast or you're living on the West Coast, you got to fly to get here. It would be really nice to know beforehand, before you actually get here.
Here's the thing. It does kind of stink that if you come the whole way here and then you get tested at the port for Disney, that if you're positive, then you have to go home. Where Royal Caribbean, you don't test at the port. You only test within 2 days prior to your sailing. But you are still paying for that for your Royal Caribbean cruise, where at Disney, you're tested for free at the port. But if you are traveling and you want to make sure that you're not going to get sent home, go spend some money and go get tested before you come down.
Yeah.
Then that way you're not saving yourself, you're saving yourself the trouble later, hopefully.
Right.
We talked to a lot of people on this cruise, probably the most people we've ever talked to on a cruise, probably because we kept seeing the same people all the time. But a lot of people told us that they tested a couple days before they came down.
Right.
And then that way they were like a little more reassured. Like, yes, it was super stressful.
But, however, just keep in mind that you can still test positive after your negative tests whenever you take it once you get to the port. So it can still happen. I think Taylor's mom's calling. So anyways, so keep that in mind, because it is really, really important. And it's a big difference, but I kind of like that. I think it's a little bit better than the way that Disney's doing, which is testing at the port itself. Also, with all that being said, there is a difference between Disney, who's saying, oh, great question, Patricia. What if you have COVID within 3 months? So I think if you've tested positive and had COVID, they may require you to get something that certifies you maybe not being COVID. But also, with that being said, if you do test positive for COVID at the port, because of how they run the systems, all of those systems that they're using, those actually report back to the government. So the state of Florida is going to know that you're a positive COVID patient, and the federal government's going to know that you're a positive COVID patient. So keep that in mind, because it can make for some tricky traveling scenarios for you to get back. And of course, like, I never want to be Debbie Downer or anything like that, but I know it's really, really tempting. And I'm telling you, people will rat you out. I'm not saying I'm going to be the person who's going to rat you out, but don't get in a Facebook group and say that if I test positive or people in my family test positive, plan B is to go to Disney World. Because somebody's going to rat you out and you can get in a lot of trouble for that.
Yes.
Some serious fines, and not to mention Disney may take that very seriously as well.
And Disney's probably going to find out.
Yeah. So
because they'll see that you went into their
but
parks.
going back to the whole cruising thing right now, and testing, that was probably the most stressful time that we had.
So between the two cruises that we did in December and January, for Royal Caribbean, we got these self-test kits at home. We tested at home, and that was a stressful 15 minutes waiting for the results, but we were also at home. We hadn't already drove to the port or anything like that. It was still stressful, don't get me wrong. But when we drove out to Port Canaveral, we were both sick to our stomachs, thinking, oh my gosh, we're waiting till right now. Like, the only thing we had done was go to the grocery store and go home. Like, we had literally not done anything else. So we're driving out to the port, and I'm like freaking out. I'm still thinking about that post from a week before, and I'm like, oh my gosh, what if I totally jinxed us that we don't get to get on this cruise today? Like, I was freaking out.
And then Taylor and I would have got divorced.
Oh my gosh.
Kidding.
Drama.
Well, and let me add this too, because somebody just made this really great point. FastPass Fam said most people are testing positive at the port when they went to Disney parks prior to the cruise. Yeah, we cannot recommend enough. Like, we can't stress this enough.
Not necessarily going to the parks, just being in a crowd in general.
I mean,
prior.
Yes, but I think you are really setting yourself up for failure if you think it's a good idea to go to the parks prior. I know that, like, it's really hard to come down here. You're here, you want to go experience the parks, and we always recommend you do the parks first and then the cruise, because it's a much more relaxing vacation.
But right in this case, I would recommend doing it the other way.
in the atmosphere of what is today at this moment, it's not a good idea. You should go to the parks after the cruise.
We did talk to a lot of people on the ship, though, that said they went to the parks before the sailing. And then they were like, they said they were super nervous going to get tested because they were like, we did go to the parks before. But almost everybody that we talked to that did go to the parks said they wore their mask the whole entire time, whether they were, obviously you have to wear it indoors, but they said they wore it outdoors, they wore it in the lines, they wore it all the time.
And they tried to avoid doing any, like, the fireworks.
Yeah, they didn't do the fireworks. They tried not to do, like, crowded type things. They tried to just do the things that they really wanted to do, and then went back to their rooms. And obviously they ended up being fine because they did go on the ship, but that's why we skipped opening day of Festival of the Arts, and I was really sad about it. Because I had a park pass booked for literally months for Festival of the Arts.
Because, we really wanted to wait 8 hours to get a popcorn bucket.
Well, we weren't going to do that. But.
No, of course we weren't going to do that. That's so stupid. But be mindful of that. If you guys are going to cruise right now, whether it's Royal Caribbean or it's going to be Disney, whatever, it's probably best to wait and go afterwards if you can. We did talk to a few people who said that, they, for their kids, they were kind of surprising them with going to the parks for a couple of days afterwards.
Well, and another thing, so going back to testing for Disney, so we did not experience it taking Disney transportation or getting dropped off at the port. We drove ourselves. So whenever you drive yourself, you pull up, like you're going to drop your luggage off with the porters at the front of the terminal. The people are leading you and telling you where to go. You actually drop your luggage off first.
Yeah, which
we thought was a little bit weird, but the way everything happens, I think Disney is very optimistic that everybody's going to be able to get on board. But as long as you are negative, which hopefully you will be if you go, it makes much more sense to have dropped your luggage off first and then to go and park and everything. But yeah, like I said, I think Disney's just like super optimistic about it, but you drop your luggage off first and then you drive around into the parking garage. You pay to park. And then you pull into the parking garage. Once you pull into the parking garage, or right before you pull into the parking garage, they give you a baggie with 2 pens in it and 2 labels in it.
Yeah.
Or however many people are in your party. It's a baggie with pens and labels for everybody in your party. Then you pull around and they send you into a parking spot on the first level of the parking garage and you test yourself in the car. Someone comes up to your window and they explain to you exactly how you're going to do your test. And you literally swab your nose yourself. You put it in the test tube, you break the end off, you put the cap on, you put your label on, and they're like scanning everything, so they're not just using this by like reading, oh, this is Taylor's tube, this is Josh's tube. It's everything's actually like scanned into a system.
When the vlog actually comes out, hopefully this week, you guys will actually get to see the process, because we recorded the whole thing on the 360 camera.
Oh yeah, I forgot it was on the dash.
So you guys will get to see that. But this was the most stressful process, and I can't, and we live locally, so I can't even imagine the stress of families who are coming in. They don't have a car, they have to go wait in a tent, and they have to just hang out until they get all the results.
Yes.
I mean, we waited, they told us 45 minutes to an hour, which I was like, you gotta be kidding me.
It was about what, 30?
But it took 30 minutes, and everybody in our not in our Facebook group, but in the like Disney Fantasy Facebook group for
our
that cruise sailing was saying it was taking about 20 minutes to 30 minutes. So it really wasn't that bad, but it was stressful because you're sitting there and you're just
wondering. We were sitting there checking the Safe Passage website over and over, refresh. Every time my game I was playing, an ad would pop up, I'd go back and refresh the page. And then eventually Josh got the notification.
Email. I got an email first.
Yeah, he got the notification email.
Okay, so another question was, how's the check-in process with COVID cards on Royal Caribbean? Are they really verifying them? So I'm hoping that you're asking, are they really verifying them? Not in the sense that maybe you have a fake card, because they are
or trying to get on the ship without being vaccinated.
They are 100% verifying each individual person's card before you cruise.
Disney and Royal. And probably everybody else. Yeah,
they are, there's someone individually before the cruise even takes place, because you have to upload all of that information to their application. They are individually reviewing those. And then when you get to the port, they've got like 3 different checkpoints where they're checking your card each time.
Yep.
So in case maybe you do happen to somehow slip through the cracks, there's 3 more checkpoints to be checked at.
Yep.
Now, Disney, I actually had a really difficult time getting that done.
Card,
and I was talking to the Patreons about this because I did a little live stream with them, but my individual vaccination card, because I went to 2 different Publix pharmacies, put it on 2 different sides.
Yep.
So I submitted to Disney probably 4 times. Every time they denied it because I could only submit one side of the card. And they said, you only have the initial one. You only show one. So if you're like me, if your card has it on 2 different sides, you actually need to take a photo of each side and make it a PDF and submit that to Disney. Royal, you can submit both sides. So, Don, does a picture of your card work, or you need to have the physical card? I'm going to tell you that you need to take the physical card with you. I think that's safest. Take pictures of it as well, just in case if you do happen to lose it while you've got it. But
they could possibly think you're faking it if you bring up just a picture.
Yeah, you should 100% have your physical card. Now, here we go. I'm going to go down devil's advocate road here, which some people aren't going to like, but I'm just going to make this mention because I thought that this was a little silly when we did Royal, which was that for your negative COVID test, which you have to supply if you don't do it through Royal's system, right? We did the at-home testing. So it's right on the app. Royal sees that. They get that notification. If you don't do that, you go to CVS, you go to, I don't know, Rite Aid, Quick Care, or something like that to have a COVID test done, right? I saw people with literally a printed sheet that had it basically just looked like a screenshot that just said COVID test negative. And that was it. And they were accepting that. So I would
just leave it at that.
I'm not saying, that you could get away.
Here's the other thing. When you go get tested at a pharmacy or testing site, some of those places only want to test you if you are symptomatic. So that was another issue with some people I saw in our Facebook group is they were trying to get, actually it might have been for the Independence of the Seas, but they were trying to get tested at pharmacies and the pharmacy would not even let them book an appointment because they said they were asymptomatic.
Yeah.
Because they were just trying to get it for a cruise. So if you're doing it for Royal Caribbean, I honestly would suggest just doing their kit and doing it at home. And somebody else in the comments asked, how do they even know you're testing yourself? Well, with Royal Caribbean, with the at-home tests, you are on a video camera with a proctor. And if you break the seal of your package or do anything improperly, your test is completely invalid.
Right.
Like, you have to do it step by step, exactly what they tell you. They scan the barcode on the computer, everything.
Yeah.
And then at Disney, in the port, they're standing right outside your car window, and there's two people, and they stand there and they watch you swab your nose.
Yeah. So there is no getting by.
There is
with
no,
the,
they
with
give
the
you the
swab.
stuff and you go drive away and then test yourself and bring it back. Like, no, they scan the label, they verify your name and date of birth. You swab yourself right in front of them. They tell you exactly how to do it and how many times to swirl it around in your nose. If you're not doing it properly, they will give you another swab and make sure that you do it properly. And then you give them back the stuff. Like, they literally stand there and watch you do it. So there's no getting around anything.
Yeah, and obviously
they're pretty careful.
You also have to understand too that, like, obviously none of these cruise lines want people to be positive on their ships, because obviously, number one, it's really bad PR for them. Two, it disrupts everybody else's experience on the ship. And we can talk maybe a little bit about that today too, how that disrupts our experience, because our experience was also disrupted because of that kind of stuff. And, you know, I mean, it's just they're trying to be safe. And when we talk about safety on a cruise line, right, Disney right now is claiming to be the safest cruise at sea. A couple weeks ago, they said they hadn't canceled any cruises. We just found out that, like, the week after they said that, they canceled a cruise.
One got canceled.
They had canceled a cruise. So it's happening. But where was I going with this? Oh my gosh.
You were talking about Disney?
Yes. So Disney saying that they are safest at sea. Between Royal and Disney, Disney is 100% the safest cruise line, I would say, at sea at the moment.
Yes. So
because they're implementing protocols that
we thought were a little too much, honestly.
Yeah. I think it's a little too much when everybody on the cruise line now, especially if you're 5 and older, have to be vaccinated.
Yeah.
Some of their policies, I think, were a little
dated.
Too much. They were a little too serious.
Yeah.
But for a lot of people, they really appreciate that, and they really enjoy that. And so if you're really, really worried right now that you want to get on a ship, but you're really worried about protocols, Disney's going to be the only one probably. Yeah, I mean, Disney's really probably going to be the only one for you.
Yeah.
But that comes with a caveat. That comes with something that you need to keep in mind, which is that our ship, like we said, had only about 1,100 people on it. That was only after we all got emails on Wednesday night into Thursday that they had changed our itinerary from an Eastern cruise to a Western Caribbean cruise. When that email went out, they lost anywhere from 500 to 600 passengers that had canceled and rebooked for like a different time. So now I state that for this next fact, because with that being said, there were multiple events that occurred on the cruise that people could not get into. And not because of, like, oh, they were sick. No, they couldn't get into it because Disney
capacity.
Because Disney is physically separating everybody so much that there were several events that if you showed up even 15 minutes before it started, you weren't going to be able to do it. So keep that in mind, that they're going so above and beyond what I think is necessary that you might actually not get to experience some of the things you want to experience, activities.
We got
trivia,
to everything we wanted to do at least 30 minutes early.
At least. And even at that,
there were a few times, like, we almost didn't get in.
Yep. Yeah. And most of the time when we saw people trickling in, it was because somebody in their party was already there holding a table. So
we went to trivia on the last day. It was a Disney Parks trivia, 18 and plus. And if you've ever been on the Disney Fantasy, it was in O'Gill's Pub, which is a very small pub inside in the adult-only area. And they were not setting people at every single table. Like, it was spaced out, and it was like every other table, and like there was a bunch of empty space in there because they wanted everybody distanced 6 feet apart or whatever. There was a ton of people trying to come into this trivia. 15 minutes before it started, and they weren't letting them in. They put venue at capacity outside on the door.
Yep.
This other couple came in, and we saw them, and I had seen them at every other trivia during the thing, and they got there. It was probably 20 minutes before it even started. And I saw them at the door, and I looked at Josh, and I was like, do you want to ask them if they want to sit with us? I was like, I don't care. I was like, if they don't care. And so Josh, like, waved at them and was like, hey, if you want to sit with us, you guys can come in. And they were like, oh, yeah, sure. And we were like, we don't care if you sit with us if you don't care. And they were like, well, we don't care. Like,
I mean, also,
come on in.
four people winning trivia is better than 2 people. And in this case, really 1 person, because I don't really play trivia. I'm terrible at it. So usually it's just Taylor playing by herself.
Man,
so.
and we thought we did so good at the trivia, and we still didn't win. Somebody got, like, almost all the questions right, so.
Yeah, so it's something to keep in mind. I mean, even some of the policies, right? So here's another one that I don't think I really talked about too much in the vlog. But on the fantasy, I could have sworn that they used to have more than 1 hot tub.
Oh,
But it seems like now there's only 1 hot tub, and it's in the adult area on deck 11. And their policy for the hot tub is 1 person, because it's 1 hot tub, but it's actually like 2 hot tubs that are connected with a divider. It's 1 person on each side, or 1 family on each side. So it's a little crazy because it's outdoors. I understand it's a little bit close seating, and you're probably not wearing a mask because you're in the hot tub to begin with. But again, if we're all vaccinated, for the most part, we all tested negative, especially day of getting on the ship. Seems like a little much. There were some times where some people, you'd get in the hot tub, and like, we didn't care if other people got in there because like, it doesn't bother us. But there were other people who were sitting in there, and there would be somebody who would just be like, well, I'm getting in the hot tub because I don't care. And they would just walk up in, and you could see the look on their faces like, the policy says it's like 1 person.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's a little...
Yeah, there were a few times we went and got in the hot tub with somebody else, but we asked them before we got in. Like, hey, do you care if we go sit on the other side? And they were like, oh, yeah, no problem. Like, there were a few people that could have cared less, like, where we sat in the hot tub.
And the last day, I mean, it was freezing cold.
Oh, it was a free-for-all in the hot tub on the
hot
last
tub was
day.
like, nobody cared. It's like, no way. We're all getting in the tub. So those kind of safety protocols are there. Now, when we did Royal Caribbean, and Royal Caribbean has changed this since we did it, I'm assuming they're probably going to change this back here soon, especially with case counts beginning to drop. But when we did Royal, I think you guys saw, you watching the videos, hopefully, that at adult-only events, you did not have to wear your mask inside because the assumption is everybody who's an adult and who is there is vaccinated. Mm-hmm. So all of their staff continue to wear masks,
yes,
I think. But
yes,
guests did not.
The staff had masks on at all times, even outdoors.
Now, I mean, if you want to wear a mask, you still could.
Yeah.
But we also didn't get stuck with a lot of those, which I don't care. I don't mind wearing a mask at all times inside, whether it's for a show or for trivia, if we're not eating or drinking. I don't care. But the physical distancing just blows my mind a lot.
Royal Caribbean's not doing any physical distancing.
Right.
I mean, their capacity is still a little limited. Like, my aunt and uncle just sailed. They were on the Odyssey of the Seas, which was in port at Costa Maya the same day as us, so we actually saw them there. They said that their ship would approximately hold 5,000 people, and they were told there was about 2,600 on the ship, so just over half. And they said it still felt pretty empty, but they said they were not limiting anything. It was just you had to wear your mask all the time inside.
So, I think for us, we really actually enjoyed doing Royal a lot more because we felt very safe on Royal. Hand sanitizers are everywhere.
Oh, yeah. Like, everywhere.
And other than that, I mean, like, it felt safe. Like, they were routinely cleaning.
Oh, yeah. I mean, you're constantly seeing people cleaning. On both ships, we saw people everywhere.
And there was never
I mean, they're getting down. They're literally cleaning so much. This was on both ships. The crew members are getting down on the ground and wiping the pole that holds up your table. Yeah. Like, they're literally cleaning everything. I haven't seen somebody clean the pole of a table since, like, a deep clean. So, like, they're doing that every day. It's crazy.
Teresa, I'll answer your question real quick. So, for a first-time cruising couple, do you honestly recommend during these times, Disney Cruise or Royal Caribbean, we are looking at a family-friendly time? So, I think this is really kind of dependent on you.
That's a personal preference, honestly.
That's a personal preference. For Taylor and I to choose, we're probably going to go Royal Caribbean because we just feel safe. We don't feel like we need the addition of physical distancing, which really just started to add up on the fantasy.
Yeah.
Going into the theater where they're like, you had to show up early. They were doing 2 showings every night.
Yeah.
That's the same thing. They always do that. But it's like they're doing every other row and at least 3 seats in between you and another party.
So you don't get to pick where you sit.
Right.
It doesn't matter what time you get there. You get put
Right.
where you get put.
Yep.
And
In
Yeah.
the theater, because it's such limited, like for the main theater where they're doing the Broadway shows, that's not as big of a deal. But when you go to the Buena Vista Theater, if you've never been on Fantasy or Dream, it's a much smaller theater that's really more for like them to show movies. They did a show in there, which we saw on Star Wars 8C, which was really cool. But people weren't able to go in because of how they were doing the seating in there, which was every other row and 3 seats of spacing, and it becomes extremely limited, and it's really frustrating because if you have dining reservations or whatever, it makes it really difficult to do the stuff that normally you would want to be able to do. And you would think, oh wow, the ship is at limited capacity, I should be able to do everything.
Nope.
No, not at all. So I think it's really kind of a personal preference that you need to have if you are if you're kind of coming to Disney.
Oh my gosh. If you're trying to go on a cruise in March of this year and your passport is expired,
Oh, you're not going. Sorry.
you're either not going or hopefully you can just use your birth certificate and driver's license. But I sent my passport in to be renewed, in
I did that in November, and
I
paid
still
extra.
don't have it. And it was a renewal.
I paid extra to have it expedited. We have still not received her passport. So, well, and hold on, let me back up real quick.
Sorry.
Let me back up. So, so it's a personal preference. If you don't mind coming to Disney World and standing shoulder to shoulder with people to watch the fireworks outside without a mask on, or even with a mask on, and you don't mind standing in the lines for the queue lines inside with no physical distancing, then go on a Royal Caribbean cruise. I think you're going to have a better experience. You're going to have a better time. You're not going to have to worry about showing up 25, 30 minutes early to something that should only be like 5 minutes beforehand. Okay?
Yeah, the ice skating show on Royal Caribbean, we literally showed up 5 minutes before the show started,
And
and
we
we
still
got
got a
in no
decent seat.
problem. And there was still a ton of open seats when we got in there.
Yep. Of course, ice skating was a little weird, but okay. So now let me jump forward here to your question. You don't actually have to have a passport to sail, right? So if you're leaving a U.S. Port Canaveral, you're sailing out to the Bahamas or the Caribbean, and as long as you're returning back to a U.S. port, you do not have to have a passport. However,
I did not have a passport for this cruise.
Taylor did not have a passport for this cruise or our Royal Caribbean cruise in December. But
had my birth
keep this in
certificate,
mind. Keep this in mind. If something happens to you and they have to take you off the ship in another country, you are kind of screwed
Yes.
of getting back. Now,
I was really worried when we went on our excursion at Costa Maya, honestly.
now, you said about getting off Castaway Cay, absolutely no problem at all. So if you're doing a Disney cruise, definitely it's probably one of like the better cruises to do without a passport.
Yeah.
Especially if you're just looking to go to Castaway Cay. You're going to stay on the ship the other days.
Same
Sure.
thing with like the cruise that we just did for Royal Caribbean. We only went to Perfect Day at Coco Cay.
Oh, right.
Only
Yeah.
thing you need is your ID and your room card, and your ID can be your photo ID, like U.S. photo ID.
And so if you are doing that, right, I don't recommend it because if something would have happened to Taylor, we would have been I'd have been fine. I can come back. I can go back and forth as much as I want. I got a passport. But Taylor doesn't. So just keep that in mind that you are taking a very significant risk that if something happens to you and they have to get you off the ship and it's not at a U.S. port, even in the Bahamas, you might be in trouble. And you might be spending a lot more money than you ever thought you would. But if you're getting on the cruise and you're just going to Castaway Cay, you're not planning on getting off other days, totally fine.
Yeah.
Bring your driver's license and your birth certificate. You'll only need to use your birth certificate like basically when you get on the ship initially for embarkation and debarkation at the end of the cruise.
Thing.
Exactly. Any other time, they're not going to ask for it or look at it. When we actually took our tour at Costa Maya, scary. When we came back into the port, they didn't even ask to look at any of our stuff. We came in with a tour operator.
We did come with a tour operator.
True.
I think they were looking to make sure everybody had a room card because everybody had them on their necks.
But for the most part, somebody could have murdered us and taken our room cards and then just walked onto the ship as us, or at least walked to get on the ship. They would have stopped them at the ship. But
yeah,
regardless,
your photo is attached to your key card when you scan it at the ship.
So keep that in mind. It's definitely doable. I don't recommend it for health and safety reasons, but it's definitely doable. So if you want to do that, totally go for it. And hey, if you want some help, head on over to Go Getaways, and we can help you out with that. So, let me check some things real quick. I saw somebody that said I've seen his videos before. Loco, I can't find the comment, but dropped his test on the ground. That was for Royal Caribbean, I'm assuming. Yeah, so there was a proctor, like Taylor was saying, they're watching the entire time. If you mess something up, it's invalid. You'll have to do it again.
Even if you open something before they tell you to, this. Like anything.
Was the testing process? Do you test at the port, or did you test at site in Orlando? So, great question. So we did already talk about this. We tested at the port. For Disney, you must test at the port. Yep. Only way to do it. There is no other alternative testing. You 100% have to test at the port.
You can go get tested yourself, but they're going to test you at the port.
They will test you again. Does not matter if you went and took a PCR quick test
20 minutes before you got there.
20 minutes before you got the results, 5 minutes before you're going to take this test. Doesn't matter. They're going to test you again. So it was very easy. It's very simple.
Yep.
It's just stressful because you're just wondering if you're going to be one of those people who's going to be denied boarding, and it's really sad. In the Facebook group, if you don't know, I highly encourage you guys to check this out if you don't know. But on Facebook, if you're on Facebook, there's always I don't know how people I don't know who puts themselves in charge to do it, but it's super cool because
some people just decided to do it. I don't know.
Yeah. Pretty much every single Disney cruising sailing.
And Royal Caribbean does it too.
Is a group specifically for that cruise for that week.
And this is not created by the cruise line or anything. This is just a guest that's going to be sailing on there. They just decide and they create a group. That way, everybody that's going on that cruise or whoever finds the group that's going on the cruise will be able to talk to each other beforehand and share information and updates, and then just talk about the cruise before and afterwards. So
but it is kind of sad because there were a couple of people who did get denied because somebody in their group tested positive. So, and
that is something also important to make you aware of. If you or anybody that will be in your stateroom tests positive.
Oh no, wait. We need to back up before we go there.
Oh, okay.
Because this is really important. So what Taylor's about to say is that if somebody in your party tests positive in your stateroom, you will all be denied.
Yeah, none of you can go.
Disney takes this a step further. If you arrive with multiple staterooms as a group and one of you tests positive, they will deny everybody. Everyone. If you're in 3 separate staterooms on 3 different decks, but you all arrive together, okay? Not with Disney transportation. Let me add that in there because that's a little bit different. Yeah. But if you all kind of bundle up together, we're all here together, we're a big, happy, good old family, there's a strong possibility that if one person tests positive, they will deny every single person from getting on the ship. So
don't meet your friends that you're cruising with there. Just meet them separately on the ship.
Yes. I mean, not that you don't want mom and dad, if they get turned away, to not have to go with you, but it's a reality that everybody needs to deal with. So keep that in mind. If you are, and I know it's really silly because people have been making the argument, well, I took Disney transportation all the way over here and I test positive. Why aren't any of these other people being denied boarding? We don't make policies, so
it is what it is.
It is what it is, unfortunately, but just keep that in mind. So, man, what else? I don't know either. We do have some other cruises coming up, right? So we've got Alaska coming up in July, and hopefully things have really settled down in terms of COVID by the time that gets around there.
If anybody is interested in joining us
in
Alaska, there is most definitely still time.
I'm pretty sure people have been canceling because we've been seeing some port adventures open up.
People haven't been canceling from our group. Other people have been canceling because we have been seeing a lot of port adventures becoming available that were sold out 100%, and this was a while ago. So if you want to come, definitely at least get a quote and see if you could do it. A lot of people have been asking me, well, how much does it cost? I don't know if I can afford it. Well, the thing is, I can't tell you how much exactly it's going to cost because it depends on multiple factors. How many people you're going to have in your stateroom, how many staterooms you need if you have a big family or something, and how many or what type of room you want to be in.
Yeah.
And then if you want a drink package or not. So it
There's
depends.
a lot of things.
It depends on multiple factors. So you can either email events@goldgallgetaways.com and tell them that you're interested in the group cruise to Alaska with the WDW couple, or I'm going to post a link that you can click on to join the group cruise, and you can fill out that form as well. I think there is a section in there to put down a deposit. You do not have to fill that out if you just want to get information first. Once you have all your information, then you can put a deposit down. Or if you're like gung-ho set, I'm going, you can put a deposit down. That's the reason why that section of the form is there.
And which is not really a group cruise, and I don't even know if there's any availability on the ship.
It's sold out still.
Excuse me. We are going on the Disney Wish, considered by Disney to apparently still be inaugural, even though it's not till August. But we're gonna have a great time on the brand new ship when that comes around. So we'll have plenty of videos coming out from that. And I do see a couple of questions, so we'll answer those real quick. Vinny.
Yep.
Were those who were denied given the opportunity, for a second test?
No.
No, they were not.
If you're positive, they don't care if it was false or not. You're positive.
You are done. And then Fast Pass fam, what does Disney do for you if you should test positive? So that's a great question.
You get your luggage back.
Debatable. Some people were telling us that they didn't tell us, but we saw it in some of the other groups that they were waiting 45, hour and a half, sometimes 2 hours to get their luggage back, which is unfortunate. But what is Disney doing? So Disney, I think, is doing a couple of things. It's probably more on a case-by-case basis, and I don't want to give you the wrong information. But basically, what I've been seeing, is that they are giving you the opportunity to rebook. I don't know that they're actually giving you any of your money back onto the form of payment that you used. Because if you want that, they're probably going to say that you should have booked insurance. And if you do have insurance, which we did get insurance just in case something happened, then you can file a claim and you can get all that money back. But they're giving you the opportunity to rebook with no charges or change fees or anything like that. And then depending on the situation, case-by-case basis, like I said, they might be doing more than that. But I know that at least they're giving you that opportunity to take whatever the cost was and change it to a different sailing. But keep that in mind that it isn't going to be anything anytime soon because there is I don't know what the actual policy is, but if you do test positive, there's a policy where it's a while before you can actually get back on a cruise ship. It might be at least a month, I think, before that happens. So keep that in mind. Right now, if you're going to cruise, I highly recommend that you book travel insurance. That's what we got. It is so important right now. Some cruise lines are, I don't think Royal's doing this or Disney's doing this, obviously, but some cruise lines, they're not refunding you money if you didn't get insurance. Because they're
telling you ahead of time.
Right. They're giving you all the notice that it is highly likely and possible that you could get COVID and test positive, blah, 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 blah. So get insurance. It's not really that much of a cost when you think about the safety measures of what it is for you. So it does vary depending on what it is.
It's very minimal in comparison to not being able to cruise and not getting your money back.
Exactly. And in a lot of ways, that also, most travel insurances, depends on what you get, also includes, car expenses, baggage fees, airline tickets, your actual cruise itself. So, all that money that you spent, 5, 6, 7, 8, however much money, you should, in most cases, be able to get all that back. So keep that in mind. But yeah, so those are the other cruises we've got coming up. We might end up popping up on another one if we find an awesome deal like we did with that
Royal Caribbean cruise.
Yeah, that 4-night, 5-day.
Don't worry, we were looking on our last 2 days of this cruise. We were on our phones checking, trying to see if there was any good deals we could get.
Yeah,
just because we've cruised twice now, 2 months in a row, and it's oh my gosh, I need to go on another one.
Right. Yeah. We need to go back to Coco Cay. People were asking about swimming with the pigs and what that is. It's it's literally wild pigs.
So
There's wild pigs that live in the Caribbean and the Bahamas, and they swim around, and they take you to there, and you can feed them and hang out with them and do stuff, and it looks super cool. And we're really upset that we didn't get to do it. So, maybe if we can find another cheap cruise, we'll jump in there and do that. So, am I right in thinking with Royal Caribbean you can cancel up to 48 hours without penalty? I'm almost certain that is still the case. Their policies are changing. Not daily, but almost every other day in some cases.
And this is another great reason why you should book with travel agent, like Gold Gale Getaways,
Right.
because every time something changes, we are aware of that. And we're typically aware of it before you are even aware of
Right.
that. So that's something else to just keep in mind, is that, you know, we are monitoring that stuff constantly. We have our own like agent portals and stuff that we actually talk in together as an agency, and that, you know, we're just able to see because we get emails as agencies before that general public gets these emails and stuff. So it's just another reason why it's important to use a travel agent, especially now with all this other stuff, crazy stuff going on. So
Yeah.
we help keep you on track.
Yeah. So if you guys have got more questions, feel free to drop them. Let us know in the comments. I hope that you guys are excited for these Disney cruise videos coming out. We're super excited to finally be able to get back on it.
I posted it in the comments, but as long as all the videos went as planned, which there's no reason they shouldn't have, we should have approximately 14 videos coming from
That's so much pressure to put
our
on me.
Disney cruise.
So much pressure.
So that includes dining reviews. We did a lot of dining reviews because it
Yeah.
was 7 nights. We did some brunch, and then plus just the like daily type videos from each day
Yeah.
of the cruise because it was 7 nights. So
Yeah.
got some Star Wars Day at Sea coming to you. Castaway Key. Josh went out to Cozumel for a little while, but we couldn't. The excursion that I really wanted to do was not available, so I didn't even get off the ship. You'll hear more about that. And then we did a really cool excursion in Costa Maya. That was our first time ever in Costa Maya. We finally got to dock there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
lots and lots of cool stuff coming. I can't wait to see them myself.
Vinny, great question. I will answer that in a future video. Coco Cay versus Castaway Cay and more.
It's
So-
Castaway Key and Coco Cay.
Yeah, whatever. And Don, children don't have passports, birth certificates. Yeah, so bring your birth certificate. I don't know that you necessarily need a social security card, but bring birth certificate for kids. That is like, I'm pretty sure you 100% have to have that without a doubt if you don't have a
If
passport
you don't have a
for your
passport,
kids.
yeah.
So
Here's one other thing that we recommend is that if you are trying to get a passport to go on a future cruise, if you're planning on going on a cruise like 6 months to a year from now, do it now. Don't
Yeah,
wait.
yep.
Even if you're not going on a cruise for 2 years, get your passport now. Passports for adults are good for 10 years. And make sure you're not getting a passport card. Get a passport book.
yep.
The passport card only lasts for 5 years. And with the passport card, if for some reason something happens while you're in another country, you cannot fly home with a passport card. You have to have a passport book to be able to fly.
Yep.
So it's just important, something to keep in mind. Like we said, my passport was a renewal, which we sent in November, and we still have not received it yet.
Yep.
So,
Unless somebody stole it, so I don't know.
well, let's
We'll
hope
see.
not.
But yeah, so great question. I'm not even going to get started on Star Wars Day at Sea, but it is officially leaving the fantasy. This will be the last year for Star Wars Day at Sea. Pixar will be coming to the fantasy next year. Charlene, that's what SWDAS stands for. It stands for Star Wars Day at Sea, and we've got a whole video from this past cruise talking
Yep.
about that. And I don't think I put any of my hot takes in there about what I didn't like about it, because there were some things that were really frustrating. But other than that, that is going to do it for us.
Wait, hold on. There's a couple more questions real quick. Kids clubs on Royal Caribbean. Yes, there are kids clubs on Royal Caribbean and Disney Cruise Line. Just make sure you have your travel agent, or you can check yourself to make sure that the kids clubs are open and that they don't require reservations. Because on Disney, the kids clubs are 100% open, but you have to reserve a time slot for your child to be able to go
Yeah.
into the kids club. Because ours was such low capacity, that was not an issue at all. But just keep that in mind.
Palo Brunch.
And
Palo
Palo Brunch.
Palo in general. We'll just wait. We'll wait.
Yeah,
we'll
just-
save that.
just
We'll
wait.
save that.
Just
You'll have to
wait.
wait. Sorry. You'll have to wait.
And then what do we do with our pets? We do have 2 little dogs. They're here in the room with us. We got 2 Poms, Jazzy and Sully.
Best Friends Pet Care.
We send them to Best Friends Pet Care. The people there, because we travel all the time, the people that work there literally know them by name. Like, they
Yeah.
see Josh come in, they're like, "Oh, Jazzy and Sully!"
Yeah. They actually, when I call them, they're actually like, "Oh, we can't wait to see them. They're
Yeah.
our favorites."
So, not that we like sending our dogs to the kennel. Like, if we can have when we went on a Royal Caribbean cruise in December, actually, Josh's brother Matthew, it was cheaper for us to fly Matthew here to watch the dogs at home than for us to send them to the kennel for 5 days.
Yeah.
So we got really cheap flights. It was like $45 one way. So we are like, okay, we'll pay $100 to bring Matthew down here versus a couple $100 at the kennel. So
Right.
either they're with somebody in our family here or in Pennsylvania, or they are at Best Friends Pet Care.
Yep.
Did any more questions come through, or is that
Yeah.
about it?
No, I think we got it all.
Okay.
But yeah, so all right, everybody, thank you so much for watching and hanging out with us on a Saturday. Taylor's camera's about to overheat and shut off.
And
so
if you are interested in listening to previous episodes of our podcast, you can either watch those on our YouTube channel with the video, or you can go to Apple Podcasts or Podbean and listen to it on your drive.
that's good. That's good.
And you can also check out the Gold Girl Getaways travel podcast.
Yeah,
Josh every week with Matt, and now with Dave as well.
Yeah.
They are talking all things travel, and they are really covering a lot of travel news. So if you are interested in hearing about other travel news that's not just cruises and not just Disney, but all kinds of different things, definitely go check out that podcast. They do it every single week. I'm not sure if it's a specific day. Is it Tuesdays? Wednesdays?
We don't have a specific day. We
It's
do it when we
during
do
the
it.
week.
But all right, guys,